And we have part 4 of our gag motive series. This one ties in, no pun intended or pun intended, to the last episode, the last part. Um, this one, I'm calling it Keeping Up Morale in a Crowded Environment. Now, you don't see this all too often. However, there are a few examples that could be given for this. I'm going to go with, as an example, just because, um, the most crowded room example or most crowded room scenario that I can think of in recent memory. And it's from an episode that I ran last summer. So, here's that little clip.
Everybody get on the floor! Get on the floor! Everybody on the floor!
Yes, the GSG-9 Olympic swim team scene, where there is just a room full of gagged swimmers. Now, as I tie this into the past part of this series, the last part we saw a van with one girl, two captors, and a little smaller scenario. This would be when you have a whole room full of damsels and a whole room full of kidnappers, and they're trying to accomplish something or focus, and just preventing a distraction from happening in a crowded room. There's just so many different things that could happen if the damsels weren't gagged and they were screaming or talking or distracting or spitting on people, or who knows. I mean, there's so many things that could happen that could throw off the bad guys' plan or distract them, cause them to make a mistake. So there's a, and this is a much harder scenario to write about, and it's actually, I do have, in my fourth story I'm working on, there is something that kind of fits in with this a little bit. There's not that many in one room as a swim team, but it's just kind of a unique scene. There's so many, and they got the SWAT team that ends up coming in that, but I mean, there's so many different things, so many different variables that could have happened had the damsels not been gagged. At least in theory, there are. So it's kind of a much larger scale motive. And again, even if you take the last part with pleading for help and throw that in, if you have a crowded environment, one of the main captors may not be able to see that one of the damsels is pleading for help. Controlling a crowded room. Actually, I'm not even sure what I'm going to title this as. I'll have to figure that out. There's so many different ways I could title it, but I'm sure by the time I post this tomorrow, I'll have something good figured out to call this part. But it's definitely a rarer motive and doesn't apply. I guess it could apply on a small scale if you had someone that was trying to focus. Maybe if you look even in my kidnap production, or I have Sasha gagged in the basement and I'm working on the computer. Maybe that's a smaller scale version of it. But the swim team one is definitely the whole thing. And those scenes with larger full rooms like that are much more rare. A full room, a full van. It's harder to find larger scenes like that, but definitely makes for a good scene, a memorable one. I never forgot that swim team one from the first time I saw it, just because there were so many. It was just a whole room full you know, it's just that's just a very memorable scene. But yeah, that's what we got for part 4, and two more good ones coming. So subscribe, like, comment, participate. Thank you.